So, if you've ever had a thought that horrified you so much that you couldn't tell another living soul about it, a violent image, a disturbing thought about someone you love, a flash of something that you'd never actually do, and you've been silently carrying that fear of the thought, that it says something about you, says something terrible about who you are, I want you to stay with me for this video. Because what I'm about to share is something that the vast majority of people experience, but almost nobody talks about it. And so we're going to address that in today's video. So, welcome to this video and welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, I really want to give you a lovely warm welcome. And if you're back, thanks so much for returning. So I'm Lindsay from Lindsay Elliott Coaching. And today I'm going to be talking about something that I think is one of the most misunderstood, most under-discussed experiences of being human, and that's intrusive thoughts. So the thoughts that don't just chatter away in the background, but the ones that frighten you, the ones that arrive uninvited, that can be persistent and seem to come out of nowhere. So if that's you, this video is for you. And if you've never had what you would call a properly disturbing intrusive thought, but you do experience milder versions of this, so like worst case scenario thinking, replaying embarrassing moments, lots of what if thoughts, doubt loops about whether you locked the front door or whether you sent the right email to the right person, this video is also for you. Because the mechanism is identical, but it's just that the volume is turned up or down on it. So let me start by naming what intrusive thoughts are, because part of why they cause so much suffering is that most people don't know what they're called. They don't know that other people have them, and they certainly don't know that having them isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. So intrusive thoughts are unwanted, often disturbing thoughts that seem to arrive out of nowhere. You don't choose them, you don't invite them, they just show up. You don't want them. And they tend to be the kind of thoughts that stop you in your tracks. So it might be a violent image that just kind of flashes in, or a thought about hurting someone you love, especially a child or your partner, or a disturbing or inappropriate sexual thought, or a what if I did something terrible thought, or also a sudden doubt about whether you locked the front door or turned off the oven or sent that email to the right person. Also thoughts about contamination or thoughts about hurting yourself. Or even a thought about doing something completely unacceptable in a public place, saying something shocking or acting out, like screaming in church or something like that. And then there are also milder everyday versions that most people don't even recognise as intrusive thoughts because they kind of feel more normal. So that's a lot of sort of worst case scenario thinking, replaying something that you did that was wrong and replaying it over and over in your head, maybe thinking about work when you're meant to be on holiday, or lots of sort of what if this happens, what if that goes wrong type of thinking. And so here's the thing that I really want you to hear. The thought that makes you wonder what kind of person thinks something like that. Almost every human being has had some kind of thought like that. Almost everyone. You are not unusual, you are not broken, and you are not the only one. Now, the reason that intrusive thoughts cause so much suffering isn't the actual thought itself. It's the belief that the thought means something about you. I thought that, so it must mean something about who I am. I had that thought, so what does that make me? I had that thought, so it must mean that I want this. And if you've watched any of my previous videos or been part of any of my work, you'll know that I talk a lot about the fact that we are not our thoughts, that the mind has a function. It thinks in the same way that a heart's job is to beat or a lung's job is to breathe. It's just generating content all day, every day. And most of it's pretty mundane. Sometimes, that we barely notice it. But sometimes the mind just produces something that's really shocking. And because if we innocently believe we are our thoughts are who we are, we take that shocking thought as evidence that there's something wrong with us. But it isn't. The mind generated that in the same way that it generates every single other thought. The content is just different, but the process is identical. Now, I want to share something that I think is really important to understand. So I call it the crossed wire. So intrusive thoughts are very often the exact opposite of what you actually want. So a parent who has an intrusive thought about their child being harmed, the original signal is, I want my child to be safe. That's the real message. That's what matters to them on the deepest level. But as that signal travels through the mind, it gets scrambled. And what comes out the other end is the complete opposite. What if I hurt my child? And that thought feels horrifying precisely because it goes against who you actually are. If it didn't matter to you, that thought wouldn't bother you. So the distress is evidence of your values, not evidence against them. And actually, this is the work that I do with so many women that I support, helping them to see that all thoughts, but also the thoughts that they've been terrified of, the thoughts that they may have been carrying with shame, or the thoughts that they've been trying to push away or analyse or fix, are not who they are. So if this is something that you have been silently struggling with, I've got a £27 audio course called There's Nothing Wrong With You. It's a 4-lesson audio course and it's helped 5,000 people on Insight Timer. And it goes much deeper into this exact understanding around how your thoughts aren't who you are, don't mean anything about who you are, and can help you to get real freedom from that. So the link is in the description below. So when an intrusive thought lands, what tends to happen next is the second piece of this trap, is we start to think about, why did we have that thought? We try to push it away, we try to analyse it, we try to figure out what's wrong with us. And here's the part that is the most tricky. So the more you try to suppress the intrusive thought, the stickier it becomes. The more you try to figure out what it means about you, the more frequently it tends to arrive, tends to show up in your head. And the effort of the control is exactly what keeps it alive. So it's just the overthinking loop that I've recorded many videos about, just applied to the most frightening mental material possible. So it feels more urgent, it feels much more important, much more like it's something that's got to be resolved. But the mechanism is absolutely identical to any overthinking loop. Attention plus belief equals stickiness. So take away the belief, take away the attention on it, and the thought passes through like any other. And so here's what I really want you to take away from this video. There are a few things that, when they're really seen, take the power out of intrusive thoughts. So the first is, we don't and can't control our thoughts. Thoughts come and go all by themselves. They're an energy. We don't choose them, we don't order them up. They arrive sometimes uninvited, but they also leave uninvited. So trying to control something that was never under our control in the first place is futile and it's exhausting. So the second is that our thoughts do not reflect who we are. They are an impersonal energy just passing through. So the mind generates the content the same way that the lungs breathe. We don't take responsibility for inhaling and exhaling, and the same is true for thoughts. The third is that thinking something does not make it likely to happen. So a lot of us really carry a lot of superstition around this both ways. So we think that thinking about something good might jinx it, and then we think that thinking about something bad makes it more likely to happen, and neither is true. A thought has no power to create something in reality. It is just thought. And the fourth, and this is a big one, is that thoughts that repeat are not more important. Repetition feels like it is, like it's urgent, like the mind keeps serving up the same thought and it starts to feel like it must mean something, like it needs attention. But repetition is just the mind doing what a busy mind does. A thought that comes back round 10 times is no more meaningful than a thought that comes once, and it does not need your attention. So I want to share a metaphor with you to hopefully help this sink in a different way. So I want you to think of a thought as like a tea bag. So on its own, without any hot water, it's nothing. It just sits there. It doesn't have any effect in the world. And the hot water that we add to the tea is belief. So when we add belief to a thought, this thought means something about me. This thought is dangerous. I need to deal with this thought, it steeps. The tea gets created, it colours everything, it becomes distressing. But without the hot water of belief, the thought is just a tea bag. It has no power. It passes through with no more significance than I need the toilet. And this is the bit that I really want you to hear. I need the toilet, and I could drive my car into a wall at the same level. They're exactly the same thing. They're just thoughts created by our mind. One alarms us and the other doesn't. Not because of anything inherent in the thought itself, but because of what we add to it. So unless a thought is believed in some way, it has no power. And when the belief drops, the thought is just seen for what it is. It's just noise. It's just noise in the system, and that noise passes. And now I want to say something clearly, but I'm also going to say it gently. So everything that I've talked about today is a way of seeing intrusive thoughts that can be genuinely and deeply helpful. And for many people, this understanding alone can fundamentally change their relationship to these types of thoughts. But if intrusive thoughts are causing you significant distress, if they are impacting your daily life, if they're connected to any kind of OCD or another mental health condition, then please do reach out to your doctor or to a qualified mental health professional. So there is wonderful support available, and seeking it is actually a sign of strength and bravery. So what I've shared with you in this video can totally sit alongside and support anything that another professional will do with you. They're not at odds with each other. So let's bring this into summary. So intrusive thoughts are unwanted and often disturbing thoughts that almost everybody experiences, but they are not a sign of who you are. So they cause suffering because the belief that our thoughts are who we are, and it's in its most painful form. So the crossed wire shows us that intrusive thoughts are often the exact opposite of what we actually want. So the distress that you feel about having them is evidence of your values, not evidence against them. We can't control our thoughts. They are an impersonal energy that is moving all the time. And thinking something doesn't make it real or more likely to happen. And repetition does not equal importance. So without belief, a thought has no power. Like a tea bag without hot water, it's completely inert. And without resistance, intrusive thoughts just come and go on their own, just like any other thought. So, if something in this video has spoken to you, if you've felt maybe seen or understood for the first time in a way that maybe you haven't before, I would love you to take it further by having a look at the audio course, There's Nothing Wrong With You. It's 27 quid and it's 4 parts, and it goes much deeper into this understanding that I've shared today. And as I say, over 5,000 people have taken the course on Insight Timer, and it has a 4.8 out of 5 average rating from 460 ratings. So it's certainly having an impact over there. So the link is in the description below. Thank you for being here. I know that today's topic can take some courage to look at and to listen to stuff about, so thank you for being open to it. And if this video has been helpful, please do like it, please consider subscribing to my channel, and also please, if you know someone who struggles with intrusive thoughts, please share this video with them, because it may just be the thing that really helps them to see, first of all, they're not alone, and secondly, that there's nothing wrong with them. So I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Has anything resonated? Has anything shifted for you? Do you have any questions? I read all the comments and I love hearing from you, so please leave them there. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video next week. Bye.